The peasant, survival, at the bottom today. You live in a world saturated with convenience, where clean water flows at the twist of a tap, food arrives at your doorstep with a few swipes, and climate-controlled homes shield you from nature's temper. Yet, beneath this ease, you sometimes feel a strange fatigue, a quiet unrest. Despite modern advancements, many of the same burdens that weighed down the lives of peasants still linger. Your days may not begin with grinding grain or hauling water, but they often begin with the same weariness, the same sense of responsibility to survive and provide. You rise to alarms instead of roosters, but the rhythm feels no less imposed. Emails replace the livestock, commute substitute for fieldwork, and yet the labor, mental, emotional, or physical, continues to chip away at you. Like the peasant, you contend with forces larger than yourself, systems of economics, social expectation. You may not face famine, but you know financial precarity. You may not be bound to land, but you feel the constraints of rent, debt, and routine. Your body may be spared the same level of toil, but your mind carries its own relentless burden. What unites you across centuries is the silent perseverance beneath daily life. You may have more choices, more tools, but you still strive through repetition, navigate invisible struggles, and search for meaning within it all. As you step into the lives of peasants long gone, you may find surprising familiarity, not in the tools they used or the clothes they wore, but in their quiet strength, their communal resilience, and their ability to press forward despite the weight of a world that seldom acknowledged them. In understanding their story, you just might understand your own a little more clearly. And so, you begin to imagine what it means to live without the buffer of modern convenience, where survival hinges on weather, not wages, where comfort is fleeting and effort is everything. Strip away your phone, your walls, your safety nets, and you're left with bare hands and a patch of land. Now step into that world. Feel the weight of the cold soil beneath your feet. Smell the wood smoke clinging to your clothes. This isn't just history, it's an echo of your own resilience, lived differently. The same dawn still rises, only now it greets you in a one-room cottage, before a day of labor not so unfamiliar after all. You awake at the crack of dawn, the golden edge of the horizon melting around you as you rise from your humble cot in a one-room cottage. The air is still sharp, with the remnants of night biting at your skin, though you've grown numb to such discomfort through relentless seasons. Each step you take through the muddy village echoes with the weight of another demanding day ahead. Around you, fields stretch into the distance in patchworks of color, waiting for your labor, the kind that means the difference between hunger and survival for your family. As the morning light spreads, it reveals the tapestry of life grounded in the earth and perseverance. First light doesn't tempt you to linger in warmth. It summons you to the fields. Plowing demands more than strength. It calls for unwavering resolve. In the breath of frosty dawn, you harness animals to wooden plows and press them into reluctant soil. Every inch you till is a quiet victory. The struggle lives in your hands, toughened by seasons of gripping coarse tools. As you drag the plow forward, furrows appear in neat, rhythmic lines, marking your endurance as much as your skill. Next comes the sowing of seeds, and with each careful gesture, you make a silent pact with nature. The routine is ancient, passed from one calloused hand to the next. You press each seed into the moist earth with hope, a fragile, flickering thing. But you know too well how easily hope can wither under a sudden storm or the spread of blight. During brief rests, you lift your gaze to the sky, reading clouds like cryptic messages, omens of fortune or ruin. In the distance, scarecrows stand watch over young shoots, symbolic guardians holding misfortune at bay. Your life is entwined with the cycles of planting and harvest. Even the animals are part of this delicate balance. Tending to them isn't just a task, it's a ritual. You move with intention between clucking chickens, meandering sheep, and rooting pigs, watching for signs of illness, feeding them, listening to their sounds, add rhythm to the countryside. The fields are a symphony of scent, movement, and labor, and you are one of its most vital instruments. As the sun climbs, the fields come alive with ceaseless motion. The air fills with the earthy smell of soil freshly turned and damp with life. In harvest season, golden crops shimmer in the light, a reward for your relentless work. You move swiftly, precisely, knowing that time is never on your side. Sides hum through stalks, and your aching muscles echo every stroke. Heaps of grain pile up, silent proof of your perseverance. On scorching days, sweat beads on your brow, carving trails through your dust-covered skin. On stormy days, you race to salvage what you can before nature undoes all you've built. Your labor bears scars from countless seasons past, yet also brings the resolve needed to carry on. As your tools scrape against the earth, and your sweat mixes with soil, your will becomes tangible, shaped by necessity, hardened by time. By dusk, you finally turn toward home. The fields behind you pulse with the life you gave them. Mud and grit cling to your skin and clothes, leaving behind footprints in the land you've battled all day. But your fight isn't over. You cross the threshold into your smoke-hazed cottage, reborn into a new struggle within confined walls. Inside, the air is thick. Warmth carries with it the ache of limited space and scarce resources. The fire crackles softly, hungry. Like you stir thin meals in soot-stained pots with hands still trembling from toil. Meat is a rarity. Your dinner is a mixture of coarse bread and broth, enough to carry you into another day, but not much more. Meals aren't for pleasure, they're fuel, plain and necessary. Fatigue seeps into every moment, but even now, there's room for togetherness. In the warmth of your shared weariness, family bonds are woven stronger. You huddle together and trade stories, tales of ancestors who endured the same hardships, finding courage in their memory. Yet the shadows never fully retreat. Illness is a quiet predator, always near, and medicine a distant dream. Still, you endure. Your children don't read books. Instead, they study the clouds and stars, finding wisdom in nature's patterns. Education is a luxury you can't afford, but life teaches its own lessons. As night falls, you barely have time to reflect. Tomorrow begins again, with the same hunger, the same hope, the same endless routine. You live between extremes, resilience and fragility, despair and determination. Every breath you take in the open fields or by the hearth tells a story of survival. Your roots lie deep in the soil you work, your identity shaped by the land's demands and your undying response to them. You are part of a story stitched from labor and legacy. Emerging from your cramped quarters, having survived another night on a diet barely sufficient, you know this is only the beginning. Your struggle isn't just with the land, it's with the very system that binds you to it. You don't own the soil you toil. Instead, Your livelihood hinges on the whims of landowners, people who may never even see the fields that rule your life. If you have rights, they are faint echoes, overshadowed by others who wield power and privilege. Each season brings uncertainty. A single drought can erase a year's work. A sudden frost can doom your hopes. You might work the same plot for years and still have no guarantee you'll see its fruits. That uncertainty gnaws at you, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. You try not to let it show around your family, but the tension always finds its way into the silences between words. Yet in this fight, you aren't helpless. You possess a knowledge forged from generations of observation and adaptation. You rotate your crops, innovate with what little you have, and read the land like a living map. These small victories, born of necessity, are acts of quiet heroism. You survive in spite of a system that seems designed to forget you. And the system doesn't just forget, it takes. You're forced to give up parts of your harvest as rent. When disaster strikes, you may borrow seeds or tools only to find yourself buried under impossible debts. There's no safety net. Every setback tightens the grip of poverty. You love the land, but you're bound to it like a prisoner to their chains. It gives you life, but also keeps you subjugated. A brutal winter or cruel summer can spell ruin. You work and endure, mostly unseen by those in cities whose lives depend on your labor. They never feel the weight behind each loaf of bread or every sack of grain. Still, you persist. Your endurance is resistance. Your survival is defiance. You carve meaning from adversity. You teach your children the value of hard work and respect for the earth, even if you cannot teach them to read. You build a world from scraps and forge a future with nothing but will. You are not in history books. Your name may not be remembered, but without you, none of it functions. Your life may be overlooked, but it is not without meaning. Every day you rise again, not because hope is abundant, but because giving up is never an option. Your quiet courage endures, shaping the generations that follow. Your story is one of survival, yes, but also of a deeper, unspoken strength that forms the true backbone of a society too often blind to its roots. Your quiet courage endures, shaping the generations that follow. Your story is one of survival, yes, but also of a deeper, unspoken strength that forms the true backbone of a society too often blind to its roots. Cramped and smoky dwellings are more than mere shelters to you. They are symbols of the burdens you bear daily. The smoke-stained walls around you whisper of nights endured in suffocating darkness, of mornings where dim light seeps through the gaps in an ill-fitted roof. These four walls don't just shield you from the cold, they enclose a deeper truth. You are caught in a struggle, not only against the weather, but against a social order that resists movement. You live as your parents and their parents did, trapped in a cycle where escape feels more like a dream than a plan. Your life balances on a tightrope between visible labor and invisible suffering. Each morning, long before the sun rises, you move with the practiced rhythm of necessity. You draw water, you grind the grain, you tend the animals. To anyone else, it may look ordinary, but for you, every act is a quiet defiance, a form of daily heroism built on repetition and sacrifice, not choice. When rain soaks the ground and turns the fields into sludge, each step becomes a trial. You can't wait for better weather. The crops demand your attention. No matter how waterlogged or heavy the soil becomes, The joy of a fruitful harvest is always laced with aching limbs and weary breath. It's a strange contradiction. You've learned to live with triumph measured in exhaustion. Despite all you do, your work remains largely invisible. Yes, the fields are plowed, the grain is stored, the livestock are fed, but few beyond your community see it, fewer still acknowledge it. Those who command society from estates and high towers look past you, unaware of the labor beneath their wealth. That neglect stings, even if you don't speak it aloud. Your resilience gains no applause, but that makes it no less real. So you draw strength from what you do have, from traditions passed through, whispered stories, and songs shared under the stars. Around a fire, you remember those who came before. Their lives mirror yours, and their endurance lights a small flame of hope in you. These tales don't just recount suffering, they feed your will to continue. When your neighbor's child falls ill, or a family's food stores dwindle, you give what you can, not because you have plenty, because you understand what it means to go without. Community becomes your fortress. No one survives alone, but together you build a resistance of shared meals, divided labor, and open hands. This is how you fight the stagnancy of your situation, not with anger, but with unity. You share not only food, but knowledge, passed down in murmurs over kneading dough or mending remedies once whispered to you as a child. Now leave your own lips. When a crop wilts or livestock shows signs of illness, you call not for experts, but for elders. You remember how your grandmother's hands moved through soil, how your father watched the clouds like scripture. These lessons, born of hardship and memory, become your compass. They don't promise easy days, but they help you survive the hard ones. During harvest festivals, you dance and sing, not because life is easy, but because you know it's fleeting. You take joy seriously. It's a form of remembrance, a way to honor those long journeys, yours included, that brought you here. You celebrate not just the food grown from the soil, but the spirit that refused to break year after year. You smile wider during these moments because you've learned how rare they are. Even the youngest child dances with the weight of understanding of how many hands tilled the fields, how many backs bent to fill the baskets now overflowing. Laughter rises into the sky like prayer, not because you are free from burden, but because you are free despite it, even if only for an evening. It is in these moments you remember celebration is not denial of pain, but defiance of it. Still, illness is always lurking. One fever, one wound can tip life into crisis. There's no doctor to call, no money for medicine, but you double your visits to the sick. You whisper old remedies and stir what little comfort you can. In these moments, your quiet courage shines brightest when you endure not only for yourself, but for those around you. You mourn, too, quietly, without ceremony. Loss becomes a familiar shadow, uninvited, but never unfamiliar. You bury your dead with trembling hands and return to the fields because the living still need to eat. And even in grief, you find strength in numbers. A neighbor brings bread, another tends your animals. No one speaks of heroism, but everyone knows what it looks like because they live beside it every day. Upward movement feels distant, but not impossible. You still dream, sometimes aloud, sometimes in silence, of change. You feel it when your feet press into freshly tilled soil. You hear it in late-night conversations by the embers of a dying fire. There, amid hunger and hardship, possibility stirs. You teach your children to hope, even if you no longer do. You tell them stories, some true, some softened by imagination, about better days, about courage, about the dignity of labor. You teach them to look up at the stars, not with despair, but curiosity. The world has not been kind to you, but you still believe it might be kind to them. And that belief, fragile and flickering, keeps you going. Your days are a dance with necessity. Each step, each task, is part of a long narrative. You won't be remembered in songs of war or tales of kings, but your story matters. Every morning, you choose to rise, to push on despite it all, adds a thread to a larger tapestry of endurance. These are your invisible struggles and your invisible victories. You won't raise banners, you won't storm gates, but you resist in your own way. You refuse to be broken, and in doing so, you teach a lesson that echoes through time. Resilience doesn't need a stage. Sometimes it's found in simply making it through another day. As you look back on all this, it becomes clear your life, harsh and demanding, is also filled with quiet power. Waking early, enduring back-breaking tasks, surviving in a world stacked against you. You've proven that strength isn't always loud. Your spirit, tested but unbroken, is a lesson for all of us. You show that courage lives in everyday persistence, in the care for others, in holding on to hope when change feels distant. By understanding your journey, we begin to see our own differently. We learn that true endurance, the kind rooted in community, love, and the will to carry on, shapes the most powerful legacies. And your legacy, though often unseen, is one of the strongest of all.